much fun, Chan. Get it?
Coraline. People usually think of this movie as a not very scary horror movie, but let me tell you, this movie's terrifying. Now, not because of the visuals or any jump scares, but I think it lies more in the moral depravity. I mean, just think about it. The idea of a kid wanting different parents than one he already has. Don't you think that's kind of messed up? Yes, maybe some of us have thought it, which makes it even more scary. I think that's also what this makes movie so good. Also, the animation, the stop motion, just feels timeless, and it fits better. Like, imagine this movie was in CGI. That would not be as weird and twisted as this movie's story is. And also, those boring scenes, or quote-unquote boring scenes. The zany weirdness isn't as cool and interesting as the boring stuff. I don't know, but it's still all the same, really good. Now, I started this month with The Town, the one directed by Ben Affleck, and yes, it's pretty good. What always captures my attention in movies that have domestic fear, like Dark Knight or The Inside Man. It's not that I like that they happen, but it's always interesting. They always have something interesting to tell. I like the characters and their deep relationships with history. I think it makes for excellent storytelling. And when you bring someone new into the picture, it makes it even more interesting. Also, this movie is kind of a slow burn when it comes to the story. It gradually squeezes its pressure until near the end you're just gripped with what's going to happen next. Devil of All Time. Stories about bad people going in a worse direction in their lives are stories that I find very fascinating, mainly because these people have a goal and can move the story along. Also, scenes with religious corruption are deeply fascinating to me, even as a Christian. Tom Holland said himself to be an incredible actor, and Robert Pattinson is already there, already incredible, and he puts his A game with that southern accent that fits so well. This film might be a true tragedy, but this movie is a success. The King. This movie is about King Henry V, and already I love the character. He's smart, he's calm, he's reasonable. I think for somebody in my generation, this just feels so refreshing, so cool. He doesn't want to be scrupulous, and has this reasonable morality to him. It is so captivating, and Timothée Chalamet makes you believe in this character, even makes you want to see him win and do the right thing. But also, its theme about political corruption is a theme I feel touches so closely. Now, in terms of style of this movie, this felt more like a war movie than a Majestic King movie. Sure, it wasn't too realistic that it didn't have its majestic flair, but it did feel like some of this actually happened. And I mean, like, who can't get enough of Robert Pattinson as a Frenchman? Oh my goodness. Emily in Paris. Now, I did check the reviews for it, and the reviews aren't good. And I'm very sorry about that, because I actually do kind of like this movie. Not only because I think that Lily Collins is a complete goddess, but also our main protagonist is likable, she's caring, she's driven, and even though there are some stereotypes in there that may seem as negative stereotypes, I mean, I still like the characters, so how can that still be negative? I don't know. But maybe I'm just biased because it's a beautiful European city. I don't know. I do believe, though, there are ways that it can be fixed. I agree with that. I think it should be fixed. But so far, it's not a bad start to good comedy. Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Number one, I gotta give credit to Michael Bay. He does not always deserve the kind of hate that he gets. His movies always look stunning, and the action is always fun and enjoyable. However, it doesn't get fun when you see the action going non-stop for 30 minutes. Also, I just hate the characters. Now, I will agree the plot by itself, by its bare bones, is pretty good. I like when sci-fi movies try to play on history, giving it a new perspective, and that's cool. However, I hate the characters, and I can't give this movie that much credit for that. Super 8's its theme about empathy and looking at each other and trying to understand where you're coming from are themes that I always want to observe and want to emulate. And the scenes where the kids are always trying to make a movie are inspiring. Even though that's not the core of the movie, I do think there was a passion behind how they were doing it, and the director really wants to show us how cool it is and how fun it is to make a movie, even though they're in a pretty rough spot in the story. And I also believe while J.J. Abrams was making this movie, he understood how incredible Elle Fanning is. And let me tell you, she's amazing in this movie, and I believe she's a legend in the making. You'll see what I'm saying. Now, our main characters, I feel half the kids are good. The other half are really annoying, and I want them to just shut up all the time. Sorry, but I hate y'all. Outpost. You know how I talked about in my apocalyptic review that I didn't quite like movies that just feel too real? Yeah, that's not what I meant. I don't think it fits with Apocalypto. This, I believe, works well because of how much downtime there is, and how much of stuff I didn't know was in the army, which made it feel more like you were there. Yes, and there is still action in this movie. Some more action that reveals characters than action for action. Of course, this isn't a war movie, so of course there's not usually action just for the sake of action. However, I do think the message was kind of bland. It's just, oh look, these guys were heroes. I've seen this a bunch of times in military war movies, and I get it, they are heroes, but I think we can go deeper than just that now. Knives Out. Back when I watched this movie in 2019, I immediately after watching Getting Out of the Theater thought, this is the best movie of 2019. And I still agree with that. Although Parasite's really good, this one takes the cake as my personal favorite. This movie feels old in the best way possible. It looks like it's shot in film, and the screen kind of shifts a little, and I really like it. And the story doesn't get old. The twists and turns are still really enjoyable, and its theme about the class warfare is so good, funny, it's just perfect.
Expendables 3.
Now, I think we're all thinking the same thing. Yes, this movie's fun and it's silly and it's dumb and it knows where it is, but I believe it really doesn't. Yeah, when it comes to stars like Wesley Snipes and Harrison Ford, yeah, I get it, they know what they're doing, but when it comes to characters that we don't know and actors we don't know, they don't know how to use them, and it's so frustrating. For example, there's this girl, part of the team, and she's the only one in the group and every way objectifies her. And they want to show a good message about female empowerment, but that's not the way you do it, and it looks really bad. And also, they did my boy Antonio Banderas so poorly, and so racist. But other than that, this movie nails the goofy insanity, and it's still pretty good, even if it's PG-13. Pineapple Express. Now, this is an example of how cool casting is, and when you get it right, it would be much better. Now, I'm telling you, if Seth Rogen and James Franco had played each other's characters, it wouldn't be half as good as it was. It wouldn't be half as funny. Also, I really can't explain why this movie's funny. I know it's funny, but I can't explain it. Like with Key and Peele or John Mulaney, I can explain why those are funny. But this one, I just don't know. And I still like it. Blood of Zeus. Okay, so this is a pretty good animated show. I mean, it's a great animated show. It's up there with The Last Airbender and this new Harley Quinn show. The action is so creative and so cool. The characters' designs are cool, and it makes a stamp on Greek mythology while respecting what has already come before. However, all that said, when I was watching it, I wasn't so into it until the last episode. I do believe that last episode is worth watching the entire show. Dead Poets Society. Now, I feel a little bit bad that this is one of my least favorite movies out of this list, even though this is named one of the best movies ever made. I don't know, sentimentalizing a rich school isn't really my cup of tea. However, Robin Williams' performance is so good, and the way he's used in the story gives the characters drive and meaning. And I know the story was getting to me when, spoiler alert, one of the characters dies. I hadn't realized this before, but then I realized I was actually caring about these characters and what they were going through. But I will say the beginning isn't really that fun and interesting, because these characters are kind of aimless in the beginning. But I do feel like this movie can teach a lesson to the next movie on this list. Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, back to what Dead Poets Society said about art and poetry. You don't really need to follow some sort of rubric, and that's what I think fans need to learn about this movie. This is not high drama, this is a movie with silly antics. What was this movie trying to accomplish? It was trying to make you laugh, it was trying to tell a story about a hero's confidence, and it was trying to have a good romance. Which I think in that regard, it failed. Sure, it was cute, but I just felt like it wasn't earned. Altogether, sure, it's not great drama, but it wasn't really going for that. A Rainy Day in New York. For some reason, Timothée Chalamet makes a lot of movies about him trying to step out of his parents' way. Hey buddy, do you have any problems at home? We could talk about it. Either way, he does it really well, and I think it fits the angst and want for independence we all have in this generation. And you know how I mentioned Elle Fanning? And yeah, she's in this movie, she's really good. But she's also very cartoonish in the way she talks. In fact, everybody's pretty cartoonish in this movie. Though the dialogue's kind of hammy, it is really subtle in what it says. It may not be realistic of how people talk, but it is really interesting and really creative. The thing I don't kind of like about this movie is the end. I understand what they're trying to say at the end, but it just kind of feels wrong. Maybe it's just the first watch. Maybe the second watch will probably be better. For now, that's what I think. Also, Selena Gomez is in this movie. And how'd she do? She was fine. Overwatch. Yes, I guess these aren't films, but that doesn't mean that they're still not great. Yes, these are a collection of short films put together that all have one through-line narrative. And I had no expectations for looking at this, but this movie, or these collections, are incredible. Probably the best thing I've probably seen all month. The cinematography can only be defined as quality. The writing of the characters are great. I'd give it 90%. And the dialogue, not good, but when you have everything else doing so well, you can forgive a little bit of crappy dialogue. But the emotional core is what makes this movie perfect. The idea of what it is to be a hero, and the excitement of what it could be like. And of course, the costumes and the world, I mean, who can't love this movie? This movie is so accessible. I highly suggest watching it, and it's free on YouTube.
Queen's Gambit. Now, the first time I saw Anya Taylor join a movie was Split, and after that I thought, we need more of this girl, and I'm so happy we got this, because this is probably her best work. And if I were to explain Anya Taylor-Joy's acting style, I would say she's the female Ryan Gosling, which is high praise from me, since he is my favorite actor. The story is about the dichotomy of being a genius and with substance abuse, and this show is so intimate with its characters. It shows how she came to start using these things, how to play the game, how to strategize the way she does, and how she gets away with the stuff she does. It's the best thing going on in Netflix. You guys should all see it.
Out the way you want it.
Why the need for so much gruesome graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because
a
it's
little
so
of it?
much fun, Jan. Get it?